Hey there, everyone. As you can see, there is a lot of exciting stuff happening over at MrStuTV.com. That's our website, www.misterstutv.com. Also, follow Mr. Stu TV everywhere on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on YouTube, there is Mr. Stu TV, and we just recently added a new channel, Mr. Stu TV Parents. Be sure to check that out for more mental health fun, resources, and training. Today we're going to be talking about mindfulness for kids and what even mindfulness is, some of the benefits of practicing mindfulness, some of the things that can happen if you don't practice mindfulness, and then some fun ways to implement mindfulness into your family's routine. So let's jump right in. Let's talk today about what mindfulness for kids means. In today's world, you hear the word mindfulness all over the place, from apps to commercials to self-care gurus. Mindfulness is a hot button word that is just flying all over the place, and people say you need to be more mindful and you need to practice mindfulness and meditation and all this stuff, but rarely is it that people take the time to actually talk about what mindfulness is. In general, mindfulness is just a time that provides kids time to sort and store all the information that comes in throughout the day. And by doing that, that will enhance mental and emotional well-being. I said kids, but it works the same for anyone. If you just imagine your brain as like a library, and all day people are coming and returning books to the library, they're constantly giving it they're constantly giving information to you, dropping things off and returning books and bringing up memories and forming new memories and giving all sorts of brand new things for you to think about, and all of it is piling up. Well, mindfulness and meditation are ways where you take time to let the librarian take that big pile of stuff and put it all where it needs to go, to form connections in the mind between things that need to be remembered. And for those things that can be forgotten, it's about kind of wrapping those things up and letting them go away. Or you can think about your brain as like a tablet or a phone, and all day long you're opening windows. You need this app for school, you need this app once you get home, you need this app to make your snack, and all day long you're opening up all these apps. Well, mindfulness and meditation is the time where you can go through and shut down all the apps that you don't need running anymore. Then for the ones that you choose to leave open, you can take time to wrap up whatever you're doing with those things and let them be put away as well. Basically, mindfulness is this time in rather than time taken to try to avoid something. Mindfulness is about taking time in rather than avoiding whatever it might be that's on your mind. It's about being present in the moment and embracing whatever is rather than avoiding or resisting it. It's about taking that time in. In October, I'm going to go over a method that I use with children with anxiety called Monster in the Closet. And Monster in the Closet is a way to practice mindfulness with kids and help them deal with their fears that is all about confronting the fear rather than trying to avoid the fear. It's about taking time in with that fear and understanding that, yes, it can be scary, but just because it's scary doesn't mean that the thought of it can hurt you. And that's what mindfulness really does too. It's all day long we've got this checklist of the things that we need to take care of and the things that we need to remember and the things that we need to make sure happen throughout the day. And all day long our brain is processing all of this. And sometimes it can be scary to do a check-in in the day and think about the things that did get done, the things that didn't get done, the things that still need to be done. It can be scary. And so rather than taking that time in and processing all of that information, our default mode is to try to resist it and avoid it and say, oh, I'm too busy right now to process that. I'm too busy to think about it. But the more and more you do that, the higher your return pile stacks up, higher and higher and higher. Mindfulness is the time where you can take that time in and sort rather than trying to avoid whatever might pop up in your mind. It's also about eliminating distractions. Mindfulness requires that taking the time in, that time is free of distractions. In a world full of beeps and buzzes and notifications and video game dings and zings, mindfulness teaches us to suspend the noise and focus on what's happening here and now. Many times distractions are all about pulling your focus, pulling your attention and getting you to go do something, and especially getting you to go do something right now. Distractions can be a great thing. For instance, if a tornado is happening, you want the distraction of the tornado alarm to distract you from whatever you're doing and let you know the plan to go stay safe. But distractions can also be negative. If you're trying to focus and you can't seem to get your mind to stay on one thing, that's a difficult reality. And so in taking this mindful time, it's not about responding to everything that pops up. It's not about allowing yourself to be taken off course by everything that may pop up during your mindful time. It's about eliminating all of the outside distractions so that you can deal with all of the internal distractions. Isn't it the case that so often you're distracted, but it's not by anything going on outside of you? It's by your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own emotions, your own desires, whatever it might be going on in your own head. And so you don't need all the pings and dings and everything going off around you because you've got enough distraction in your mind. So when you're taking mindful time, be sure to eliminate all the distractions you can so that you can focus on those distractions that are already taking place in your mind. And mindfulness is also about becoming comfortable with whatever is. It's not just about noticing it and realizing it. It's about, yes, when I first started thinking about this, when I first noticed whatever thought it is in my head, when I first noticed that thought, it was overwhelming and very uncomfortable. But when I confronted it, when I spent time with that thought rather than trying to avoid that thought, over time I became more comfortable with it. Stark is my German Shepherd who you get to see on Mr. Stu TV, and maybe you've seen me at a live training or one of our live productions, and you've gotten to meet Stark. When I first met Stark, it was the first time I'd really ever met a big dog. And it was with a family. Stark was with a family who couldn't take care of him any longer. So I decided that I was going to try to adopt him. Well, when I met him, I was very intimidated at first. He was a big dog and not nearly as big as he is now, but he was big back then. And so I was intimidated. But the more time I spend with Stark and the more we got to know each other, the more comfortable we are with each other. And now Stark doesn't scare me and I don't scare Stark. People who are just meeting Stark for the first time can be very intimidated by Stark. But to me, Stark is still just a little puppy, even though he's 130 pounds now. The same can be true with your mindfulness. The first time you sit down with your thoughts, you might be really overwhelmed and even afraid at some of the things that pop up. But once you start to spend more time with those thoughts, more time with those uncomfortable emotions, you'll start to become more comfortable with them. And so it's not about loving everything that happens, but it's about, yes, I know I'm feeling sad right now and I'm okay with that. It's not how I want to be feeling, but it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel scared. And when you sit with those thoughts and you spend time in with the distractions eliminated and just let your mind go wherever it needs to go, then you'll become more comfortable with what is rather than trying to change it into what you wish it was. Let's talk a little bit about what can happen if you don't practice mindfulness, if you don't take time to sort and store the information that has been coming in all day long, if you don't take time to sort and store that return pile that's building up, if you don't take time to sort and store and close out all of those apps that have been getting opened all day long, here's what can happen if you don't do that. First, it can lead to what's called a lower frustration tolerance. That's a symptom of many mental health disorders, a low frustration tolerance. That you just become more reactive, that maybe you even seem more aggressive to people who are around you, all because you didn't take time to sort and store that information. Let's talk about why that happens. If you are overwhelmed by the things that are building up in your mind, if you've had all these thoughts and you haven't taken time to sit down with those thoughts and become comfortable with those thoughts and not be distracted by anything else, but really understand those thoughts, then as they build up more and more and more, it's like you're carrying more and more and more. It's like you're getting closer and closer to your limit. And so then when people put demands on your day, you've already got all of this going on in your mind. And then maybe as a parent, you say, it's time for you to clean up your room. Well, the child, because they've got all of this already built up, it's not that cleaning their room is such a big deal. It's because they already have all this other stuff, and you've added the straw that broke the camel's back on top of it. And so when that straw that breaks the camel's back lands on the camel's back, then the camel's back breaks and that child becomes aggressive or frustrated at an easier level. Why? Because they didn't take time to sort all those things and get rid of all of that buildup that's already in the brain. If you take time to be mindful, if you take time in with those thoughts and eliminate distractions and work to become comfortable with what is rather than how you want it to be, it can actually increase your tolerance of frustration because you don't have all that buildup. Another thing that can happen if you don't practice mindfulness is a difficulty with memory. Think about when your desk is messy. It's a whole lot harder to find the things you need. And maybe you have a system where to everybody else, your desk looks like chaos. But to you, you know where things are and that's sorted. But what about when your desk is actually messy? When it's not sorted even by your system? When it's not all taken care of? It can be frustrating and difficult to find what it is you need. Memory is the same way. As things build up in the mind, as more apps get open, as more return things get piled up in the return pile, then in your brain, it becomes harder to sort through all of that information and find what it is that you're actually looking for. So you can have difficulties with your memory because you didn't take time to sort and store all the things where they need to go. Your brain is going to look for memories and saying, well, this is where it should be, but it's not stored here because he didn't actually take time to sort and store. So now I'm having to get through all this clutter and find it amongst the chaos rather than finding everything well organized. It can also cause difficulties with concentration. Again, we talked about all of the distractions that happen outside of yourself with notifications and the news cycle and maybe social media is pinging and dinging all over the place. There are tons of distractions outside of you, but if you don't take time in away from distractions and trying to become comfortable with what is, you'll build up more and more distractions in your mind. Just like how it can be difficult to find a memory amongst all the clutter, it can be hard to stay focused with all the clutter. Isn't it harder to work at a desk that's full of clutter than a desk that's cleaned up? And the same is true with your mind. It might be that the things you're thinking about are completely unrelated to what you're trying to focus on, what you're trying to use your concentration for. But with all of that clutter, it's so hard to find what you need and be able to stay focused. If you'll take time in, away from distractions, and try to become comfortable with what is, then you're sorting and storing all that information, and then it becomes easier to concentrate because you don't have all the internal distractions going on in your mind. We've talked about what mindfulness is in general, and then I was able to share with you some of the things that can happen if you don't practice mindfulness. Now, the opposite things are true. If you do practice mindfulness, you can increase your frustration tolerance. You can increase your ability to remember things. You can increase your ability to concentrate, all because you're sorting and storing and keeping things put where they need to go and keeping your mind organized so that the clutter doesn't build up and you can stay focused. Let's talk now about some ways that you can implement mindfulness, not just what it is in general, but what are some ways that you can do this with your family or with the children that are in your care. One of the first ways that I can see is through family unplug time. I hear often of parents telling their kids that they need to limit their screen time. And we forget that as parents, we also need to watch how much we are involved in screens. Not just because of random statistics that are thrown at us to scare us on the news, but a few reasons. One is that children cannot do what is not modeled for them. So you have to show your child how to unplug. You have to show them and demonstrate to them and model to them the behavior that you are hoping to see from them before they are going to be able to show that behavior. So unplug time should be done as a family. Unplug from phones, put it all away. And during this time, you can talk about your day. You can play a board game, or you can just enjoy each other's company, sitting and being unplugged. If you'll do that, you're eliminating outside distractions, and you're actually taking time in, even if you don't sit there with your fingers crossed and going, You're taking time in with your mind because you're not allowing more to be brought in. You have to sit with what's already there. And so even just eliminating outside distractions and spending some time unplugged is a great first step to practicing deeper mindfulness. Another thing that you can try that's really fun, especially for little ones, is to take your bare feet and put them on the ground. Whether it be indoors on carpet or tile or linoleum or wood, let children place their bare feet on the ground and have them close their eyes and just tell you how it feels. You can do the same thing outside in safe places or in the grass or in the dirt or the sand, and let children put their bare feet on the ground, and you do it too, and share, how does that feel? How is that mindfulness? You're taking time in with what is happening right now. How do the bottoms of my feet feel right now? And it's creating a mind-body connection with something we take for granted all day. Walking around on your feet causes constant activity in your brain that is just happening on autopilot. When you take time to think about what your bare feet are feeling, you're taking time in. You're making a connection in where was just autopilot. Now you're taking time to actually think about it and process it and sort and store information. Another way that you can implement this as a family is through mindful eating. There are all sorts of articles and tutorials about how to do full mindful eating. But a way to start is just eating a meal as a family. And maybe during that meal, there are no outside distractions. The TV's off, phones are put away, and now you're taking time in, and you can combine that family unplugged time with this mindful eating. That there are no distractions while you're eating, that you are free to talk about what you do like about the food. And what about this? What if a child shared that they don't like something from the food, and rather than just being dismissed as rude, what if you asked a follow-up question to them? Oh, what is it that you don't like about this food? Then you've got them thinking about textures and temperatures and tastes and flavors, and they're taking time in to reflect on what is right now, away from all distractions, not what they wish it was, but what it is right now. And if you'll do those things, if you'll practice some family unplugged time, if you'll play with your bare feet on the ground, if you'll practice mindful eating, then those little things can build up over time and get a child more comfortable with sitting with their thoughts. And as they become more comfortable with sitting with their thoughts, they'll become faster at sorting and storing the information. And you'll see an increase in their frustration tolerance. You'll see an increase in their ability to remember things. And you'll see an increase in their ability to stay focused and concentrated because they've taken time to get rid of the clutter, sort it all out, store it where it needs to go. And now their brain can function at an optimal level. You can implement it through family unplugged time, the barefoot walks, or just playing with your feet bare on the ground, or through mindful eating. It can be easily incorporated into your daily life. And if you'll do that, you'll see the benefits begin to build up more and more and more as you've sorted and stored and closed out the apps and put away all the information into the library and let your brain do what it's designed to do. To be comfortable right now, in this moment, with whatever is. Not what you want it to be, and not what all the distractions say it should be, but being comfortable right now, whatever comes your way. If you'll help children to learn that skill, you'll be building a stronger relationship with them as they have more time and energy to focus on other things. Their brain isn't cluttered anymore. And you'll be setting them up for success as they become more resilient with their thoughts and their emotions, and they can be more comfortable and understand that it's okay to feel however they feel. They get to choose how to respond. For more mental health fun and resources and training, be sure to check out MrStuTV.com. That's MisterStuTV.com. Follow Mr. Stu TV everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And follow Mr. Stu TV and Mr. Stu TV Parents on YouTube so that you don't miss out. There is so much coming your way in the next days, weeks, and months. I can't wait for you to see it all, and I will be back here again very soon. Till then, spread the word and share the love. Bye-bye.